Hello, everyone out there in YouTube world, Facebook world, social media world, the world, wherever you might be watching this video from. Welcome to another edition of Musings with MGL. I am your host, MGL. As always, if you like what I have to say, please click the subscribe button in the corner, click the bell for notifications so you know when I post new content. Give me a like, give me a comment, give me a share, etc., etc., etc. Everything really helps out the channel grow. So I want to thank all the people who've subscribed already, and tell all your friends how cool the channel is and get them to subscribe. That would be great. So I want to do something a little different here today. My channel is it just is what I feel like doing a video on every day. It's kind of all over the place. And today I kind of wanted to do, believe it or not, a movie review. And I like to review these movies from the standpoint of Second Amendment people, firearms stuff. So it's not, when I do movie reviews, I'm not going to review, romantic comedies because they generally suck. I'm certainly not going to review, love stories or chick flicks, for lack of a better term, or whatever. So I'm going to review mostly all your big manly testosterone action style adventures with an eye towards, what I like about Second Amendment, what I don't like about Second Amendment, and just kind of do a guys like movie review of these type of movies that they come out. So the first one I'm going to do is about this movie that I have here on the screen. Some of you may have heard about it. It's been out for a couple weeks now on Netflix, and it's called Extraction. Okay. This is a Netflix movie, so it didn't come out in theaters, obviously. So you got to have a Netflix subscription. But it dropped a couple of weeks ago, and I watched this movie, and I got to tell you, this movie's great. Okay, I loved this movie. Now, as most action movies, I'll be honest right up front, the plot is pretty thin. Okay, the point of this movie is not to get into any deep philosophical, discussions about violence in the world or anything like that. It's a straightforward action adventure. It's got a thin plot, but it's got a thin plot for a reason, because it's basically one long action movie from the start to beginning. You go from action set piece to action set piece with a few slow down moments in the movie to give some character development, but it's a not a plot driven movie. It's an action driven movie, which I don't have a problem with that. A lot of your hoity-toity, stuffy reviewers have a problem with that, but I don't have a problem with that. So I'm not going to give any spoilers here, really. I'm going to give a little bit about the plot, but this is stuff you can find just by looking at the description on IMDb, so they're not spoilers. But essentially, what happens is Chris Hemsworth, Mr. Thor himself, plays an ex-Special Forces guy, and now he's a mercenary, basically, okay? It's funny because he plays an Australian, so he actually finally has his Australian accent. He doesn't have to fake anything. So he's a mercenary now for hire. And in India, there is a drug lord's son who gets kidnapped by another drug lord. And the first drug lord's people hire Chris Hemsworth and his group of soldiers of fortune, and the people he works for, to extract, dun, 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 spoiler alert, extraction, to extract the child from the one drug dealer and bring him back to the other drug dealer. So that's the bare bone plots of this movie, which is why I said it's not a deep plot. I mean, it's a tight story that is essentially, it starts off with the kid getting kidnapped, and then they hire him, and then the rest of the movie is him and his team trying to go into this foreign country and make contacts with foreign people and basically fight their way out of the country with this child to extract him from the country and bring him back to where he needs to go. There's a few twists and turns along the way. Again, I'm not going to spoil any plot twists or anything. So there are a few twists and turns along the way, but this is at its core an action movie. And when it comes to action, it does not disappoint. Hemsworth does a great job. Hemsworth is a huge hulking man, and the action that you'll see in this movie is like John Wick on steroids. Okay, so it has a little bit of the stylish nature that you would see in the John Wick movies when they use different types of weapons. It's not all gunplay. There's knife play, and at one point somebody uses a rake to kill somebody. It's basically, if you're in a fight for your life in a room, you're grabbing anything you can find: pots, pans, flower pots, rakes. Yeah, like I said, anything. Like, it's one of those type of visceral action fight scene movies. So the action is somewhat brutal. I mean, Hemsworth being, again, he's a massive man, and he just throws people around in some of these scenes like rag dolls, which he could probably do in real life with certain people. And obviously, if he's got somebody that's the same size, it's a little different. But if you put him in a room with a bunch of smaller, lighter people, he would probably just toss those people around like rag dolls. And that's what happens in this movie. It's very brutal. The firearm scenes are great. They're right out of the military world. The guy who directed this movie is actually a former stuntman. He did stunts for a bunch of the Marvel movies. He used to be, I believe, he used to be Chris Evans's Captain America's stuntman in some of the movies. But there's a theory out there. He grew this big like operator style beard, and he can't be a stuntman anymore with this beard. He would have to shave it to be a stuntman, and he really doesn't want to shave his beard because he really likes his beard. So that's pretty cool for us beard guys. So since he doesn't want to shave his beard, he's decided to become a director. So he moved from being a stuntman on all these big Marvel action movies to kind of directing his own movie. So this is his first directing debut, and he does great. Again, it's a good movie for him to start out on because, again, it's thin on plot, so he doesn't have to worry about that stuff. It's really just directing a lot of the action and the stunt scenes, which is right up his alley. So there are scenes in this movie that are ridiculously insane. There's some scenes that are long one-shots where basically there's probably a 15-minute action fight sequence that goes from inside of a house to in a hallway to down an alleyway to into a car to into a truck to over a bridge, where it's just one shot. Like there's no breaks, there's no cuts. It's just one shots with the camera following Chris Hemsworth around when he's got this kid and them trying to escape, and it's a masterful shot. It's beauty to behold. So it's real violence. Like I said, a lot of the John Wick violence is kind of real, but it's also very stylized. It's slick, it's clean, it's awesome to watch. Those films are great, obviously, but it's slick and clean. The action in this movie is brutal and in your face, and probably more realistic of what would happen if you were in a street fight with somebody. Not a bunch of martial arts and fancy moves and stuff. It's just bashing people around and fighting for your life with anything that you can put your hands on. It's very brutal. It's very beautiful. It's very glorious to hold. It's everything that, a warm-blooded male who likes action movies would love. Chris Hemsworth puts in a performance. Again, it doesn't require a lot of range because it's a straightforward character. There is a backstory with that character. Again, no spoilers, so I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but there is a backstory with that character that kind of unfolds throughout the movie, which gives him a little bit of depth and a little bit of emotion. There are a couple of scenes in there where he gives a really good emotional performance. The child that he has to rescue is, some scenes, it's a kid, so some scenes is kind of bland, and then some scenes he's actually pretty good. The bad guys in this movie are really good. There's two bad guys in the movie, the drug lords, and then some of the drug lords' henchmen and stuff. They're really good. There's another henchman in there that's kind of like Chris Hemsworth's rival in the movie. They get in a lot of fights, and he's just as brutally violent as Chris Hemsworth's character is. So when the two of them go up against each other, those are glorious fights and action sequences. I mean, that guy, all these actors in the movie, other than Hemsworth and a couple of the people that are on his team, were local people over in India. So it's kind of a Bollywood type of thing, which is, fine. It's great that they hired all these local actors, and they got some really good actors over there, and the people in this movie are really good. They're really good at action as well. So the local performers that they hired over there did a great job in this movie, and they're just as believable as their characters as Chris Hemsworth is in his characters, and that makes for a really fun, entertaining action movie. So it does slow. There are a few points in the movie where it does slow down because they want to try and get in these character beats, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. So there'll be a couple parts in the middle of the movie where it really slows down. You're like, well, why are you slowing down? Shouldn't you still be going? But they're setting some stuff up that's going to pay off later on in the movie. So just kind of be patient through those things. But overall, I'm going to tell you, this movie's great. I mean, if you're stuck in quarantine, and even if it wasn't quarantine, this is a great movie. I mean, I think people are eating this movie up. I will say it's getting a little bit of a controversy out there because of the social justice warriors, the woke people out there. They're chalking this up to like one of those white savior movies, where you have the white guy that has to come into a big minority community and save it. It's the same crap that you would hear about like Dances with Wolves. Oh, it takes, the white guy to come in there and save the Indians, or The Last Samurai, that movie where it's Tom Cruise, where he goes over to Japan and saves all the samurais. So it's, you do kind of have this trope, and I'll admit that it exists, where the white American guy comes into a foreign land and saves the day. But, so what? That doesn't mean you can't see the movie. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. And you can't tell me that that doesn't happen in real life. Our American soldiers go all around the world to other countries with people with different nationalities and save people and fight wars and do a great job at it. So to use that as like a criticism of the movie is ridiculous. But if you research it, you'll see out there that all these social justice warrior, woke people are out there kind of giving Hemsworth a bunch of grief about it for portraying this guy that's going to come in and, attack all the people in India are drug dealers and they're all bad people. And it's, it's a typical crap that you see. So just ignore all that stuff and enjoy it for what it is. So if you're going into a movie looking for something to just, entertain yourself for 2 hours, you 100% need to see Extraction. I mean, I would give this movie like 4 out of 5 stars only because, again, it doesn't have a deep plot, but I didn't go into this movie expecting a plot. I went into this movie wanting to see some really good gunplay, which it has a lot of good gunplay from everything from handguns, obviously, to machine guns and fully automatics and sniper rifles. There's a great scene in this movie with sniper rifles and people just getting taken out by sniper stuff. It seems very realistic to me. The violence seems very realistic to me. And so I really liked it a lot, okay? So that's kind of what my video is for today. So my first movie review video when these big action adventure movies come out, when the world opens up, and I think it's a really good, conservative, libertarian, firearm-friendly movie. I'll do a little review on it, and I'll post it out there. So tell me what you think. Have you seen Extraction? Do you like it? Do you disagree with what I have to say? Do you think it was crap? Do you think it was boring? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, like and share and subscribe if you like what you have to hear to see. But if you're bored, if you don't have Netflix, I'm sorry. Maybe there's, some way you can watch it at somebody else's house or whatever. But if you do have Netflix and you're looking for something to watch, you should 100% watch Extraction starring Chris Hemsworth, and you will not be disappointed. So everybody stay safe. I'm not going to use the word stay open anymore because everything's kind of opening up. So just stay safe and carry on.